Let that sink in for a moment. 93 billion. At a time when millions of Americans are facing an affordability crisis, struggling to pay for groceries, rent, and other basic needs. Launching that much money at a barren rock, nearly 250,000 miles away, can look like the very definition of a colossal waste. It's a story of mind-boggling budget overruns, endless delays, and political games, all while problems keep piling up here on Earth. But what if that isn't the whole story? What if that narrative of waste, while totally understandable, is dangerously incomplete? What if this massive, controversial investment is actually a strategic play, creating tens of thousands of high-paying American jobs and pioneering breakthrough technologies that could solve some of our most urgent problems, including the housing crisis itself? The question isn't just if we should go back to the moon anymore. The real question is, what are we actually paying for? Today, we're following the money. We're going to dissect the Artemis program, confront its shocking price tag, and uncover where those billions are truly going. By the end, you can decide for yourself, is this a monumental boondoggle, or is it one of the most critical investments we can make in our future? To understand the frustration, you have to start with the numbers, and they're not pretty. The $93 billion figure comes from a November 2021 government audit, which estimated NASA's total spending on the Artemis program through 2025. That wasn't a planned budget. It was a projection of exploding costs for a program whose price tag seems to have its own gravitational pull. The centerpiece of this spending is the Space Launch System, or SLS. It's the most powerful rocket ever built, a staggering feat of engineering designed to send astronauts to the moon. It is also devastatingly expensive. Each time an SLS rocket lifts off, it costs an estimated $4.1 billion. To put that in perspective, that's more than the entire annual budget of some small countries. And it's a single-use rocket, meaning we fly it once and then dump its most expensive parts into the ocean. The delays only make the costs more painful. The Artemis 2 mission, which will fly astronauts around the moon, was pushed back. And Artemis 3, the mission to finally land humans back on the lunar surface for the first time in over half a century, was originally targeted for 2024, but has since slipped. On December 5, 2024, NASA announced another delay after test flight data revealed issues with the Orion capsule's heat shield, pushing the lunar landing to mid-2027 at the earliest. But with ongoing challenges, many now see 2028 as the more realistic target. Every delay adds to the bill, fueling the perception of a program adrift. And it's not just the big-ticket items. The problems run deep into the program's infrastructure. Take Mobile Launcher 2, or ML2. This is, essentially, a giant specialized tower needed to launch the more powerful SLS version for later missions. Its original contract in 2019 was for $383 million. Today, audits project its final cost could balloon to a staggering $2.7 billion, more than 7 times its initial budget. Worse, it's not expected to be ready until 2029 at the earliest, creating a huge bottleneck for the entire Artemis roadmap. When one piece of ground equipment costs more than entire space programs of the past, the colossal waste argument starts to sound less like an opinion and more like a simple observation. This financial drain is happening against a backdrop of intense political whiplash. The Artemis program has become a political football. In early 2025, the Trump administration's proposed budget for fiscal year 2026 was a bombshell. It called for slashing NASA's funding by nearly 25%, from $24.8 billion down to $18.8 billion. This wasn't just a trim. It was a gutting. The proposal would have phased out the SLS rocket and Orion capsule after just 2 more flights, and completely canceled the Gateway, a planned lunar space station central to the program's long-term goals. For a moment, it looked like Artemis was on life support. Then, in a stunning reversal that shows just how chaotic this process can be, Congress passed the One Big Beautiful Bill on July 4th, 2025. This legislation not only reversed the proposed cuts, but decisively funded the very components that were on the chopping block, including $2.6 billion for the Gateway and $4.1 billion for the SLS rockets for missions 4 and 5. So you have it all: a $93 billion price tag, $4 billion single-use rockets, crippling delays, a launch tower that cost 7 times its original budget, and a program that was nearly canceled and then resurrected in a few months. When you lay it all out, the skepticism isn't just warranted, it's necessary. The evidence seems to point to a bloated, mismanaged program, burning through taxpayer money with little to show for it but delays. It's easy to look at this and conclude that this is indeed a colossal waste, but that's only one side of the ledger. When you hear NASA spending, you might picture money being shot into space. But the reality is, nearly every dollar of NASA's budget is spent right here on Earth. That $93 billion isn't wired to an account on the moon. It's paid to engineers in Alabama, software developers in California, and manufacturers in Texas. Before anything else, the Artemis program is a massive economic engine. A recent NASA report revealed that its moon-to-Mars activities, including Artemis, supported over 96,000 jobs nationwide and generated over $23 billion in economic output in a single fiscal year. These aren't just any jobs. They are high-skill, high-wage careers that form the backbone of a modern economy. Looking at a recent breakdown for fiscal year 2023, California institutions received over $2.9 billion in contracts, making it the top state for NASA funding. This money builds factories, funds university research, and pays salaries that let people buy homes and support local businesses. So, when we talk about that staggering budget, it's crucial to understand it's also a domestic investment in building and maintaining a world-class technological and industrial base. But jobs are only part of the story. The other, return on investment, comes from spin-off technologies developed for these missions. The hostility of space forces a level of innovation that has a long history of paying dividends back on Earth. This is where the argument for Artemis gets really compelling, especially when set against our current affordability crisis. One of the biggest crises we face is housing. It's expensive, slow to build, and often relies on unsustainable materials. To solve the problem of building habitats on the moon or Mars, where you can't ship truckloads of concrete, NASA helped spur innovation in automated construction. One company that has benefited from NASA contracts is Icon, a Texas-based construction firm. They took the principles NASA was exploring, using local materials and robotic systems to build structures, and applied them here on Earth. Today, in a suburb of Austin, Texas, you can find the largest community of 3D printed homes in the world. A giant robotic printer builds the walls of a house, layer by layer, using a concrete-like material. The process is faster, produces far less waste, and has shown it can significantly reduce construction costs. The technology NASA helped fund to solve a problem on another planet is now providing a scalable solution to the housing crisis in America. Another area of NASA-funded research is called mycotecture, the science of using mycelium, the root structure of fungi, to grow building materials. The idea is to pack a mold with organic waste, add mycelium, and in a few days, grow a dense, strong, fire-resistant brick. It's a technology being perfected for building habitats in space. But it has earthly applications too, such as creating sustainable and low-cost building materials. NASA is, literally, funding research into growing our future homes. The spinoffs extend into health as well. To monitor astronauts on long-duration missions, NASA has pushed the boundaries of remote medicine. A project called Avatar is developing organ-on-a-chip technology. These are microchips containing human cells, like bone marrow, that mimic how an organ functions, allowing scientists to study the effects of space radiation. That same technology is now being used on Earth to accelerate cancer research and test new drug therapies, without risking human subjects. It's clear the money isn't just being shot into a vacuum. It's funding tens of thousands of jobs and creating technologies that are actively solving some of our biggest problems. But is this enough to justify the $4 billion launches and years of delays? The biggest reason of all, a new space race, might put it all into perspective. Before we get to that, if you're finding this analysis valuable and want the real story behind the headlines, take a moment to hit that subscribe button. We go deep on these topics every week, and your support makes it possible. For 50 years, the moon was a memory. Today, it's the future. And the United States is no longer the only nation with its eyes on the prize. We are in a new space race, one that's more complex and arguably has higher stakes than the first. This isn't just about national pride. It's about establishing a presence and writing the rules for the next frontier of human activity. The most significant player in this new race is China, which has been making steady, methodical progress. In partnership with Russia, they have announced ambitious plans for an international lunar research station at the moon's south pole. This isn't just a plan to plant a flag. It's a plan to build a permanent and potentially exclusive base. The nation or group that establishes the first permanent foothold will have a massive advantage. They will be the ones to set technical standards, define legal precedents for resource extraction, and control the most strategic locations. If America cedes that ground, we risk being locked out of the cislunar economy for generations. In that context, Artemis isn't just a science program, it's a geopolitical imperative. But why the South Pole? What makes that specific piece of lunar real estate so valuable? The answer is one simple, powerful word: water. Decades of remote sensing have confirmed that the permanently shadowed craters at the lunar poles hold vast quantities of water ice. This ice is the key to unlocking the entire solar system, and it is the strategic heart of the Artemis program. Using a process called in situ resource utilization, or ISRU, future missions can mine this ice, melt it, and then split the water molecules into liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. That is the most powerful chemical rocket fuel we know. This turns the moon from a dead rock into a vital, strategic asset. It becomes a gas station in space. The biggest challenge in space exploration is Earth's gravity. It takes enormous energy and money to lift every drop of fuel off our planet. By producing fuel on the moon, you change the entire equation. A spaceship could launch from Earth with just enough fuel to get to lunar orbit, refuel at a station with propellant made on the moon, and then head off to Mars or beyond. This one capability could slash the cost of deep space missions and make a sustainable human presence on Mars a realistic goal. Artemis isn't just about going back to the moon. It's about building the infrastructure that lets us go everywhere else. So, let's look at the cost again through this lens. Is $93 billion a lot of money? Absolutely. But what's the price of ceding leadership on the next global frontier? It's also about perspective. That huge NASA budget we've been discussing, it represents a tiny fraction of total U.S. government spending. For fiscal year 2024, NASA's entire budget was about 0.4% of all federal spending. Since the 1970s, it's averaged well under 1%. Public perception polls consistently show that Americans think NASA gets a much larger slice of the budget, with some estimating as high as 6% or more. The reality is a sliver of that. The entire Artemis program cost, from its inception through 2025, is less than what the country spends on many other programs in a single year. This isn't about minimizing the cost. It's about contextualizing the investment. The Artemis program is a long-term, strategic bet on the future. It's a bet that humanity's future isn't confined to this planet, that the challenges of space will force us to create solutions that make life better on Earth, and that maintaining leadership in science and technology is essential for national security and economic prosperity. So, we come back to the central question. Is NASA's $93 billion moon mission a colossal waste? The case for yes is strong. The program has been plagued by shocking cost overruns, like a rocket that costs over $4 billion per launch, and a launch tower whose budget has septupled. It has suffered from embarrassing delays and been tossed around by turbulent political winds. For many, looking at the pressing needs we have on Earth, spending that kind of money to leave bootprints in moon dust feels irresponsible. That frustration is real, and the criticisms are valid. But when you follow the money, a different picture emerges. We find the investment is being pumped back into our own economy, supporting nearly 100,000 jobs across all 50 states. We find that in solving for space, we are simultaneously solving for Earth, pioneering technologies that are already helping build more affordable houses and revolutionizing healthcare. And when we look up, we see the bigger picture, a new global space race where leadership in the 21st century is at stake. We see a strategic plan to turn the moon into a stepping stone to the rest of the solar system, unlocking a future we can only dream of now. Artemis is not just a destination. It's the difficult, expensive, and necessary first step. It's a program that is simultaneously a flawed, over-budget government project and a profoundly important investment in the human endeavor. The two are not mutually exclusive. So, is the Artemis program a colossal waste of money? Or is it one of the most important, if imperfect, investments we are making in our collective future? Let me know what you think in the comments.